everyone, and welcome to the Zelda Cast here on ZeldaDungeon.net. My name is Andy Spiteri, returning to the show with my good friend and yours, Allison Aletha. What's going on, Al? How are you? It's been a long time. We actually literally talked last Sunday? Was it Saturday?
Yeah,
one of those
Saturday.
days. But
Yeah.
It does feel like a long time, doesn't it?
It does feel like a long time, but there was a lot going on, so I think that's kind of why. But yeah, it's good to have you back, and I'm excited to kind of get back into the swing of things because, the marathon, your marathon was really cool, and it was a cool thing, but there was a lot of floating things, stuff going on. I would have some guests on or whatever while you were taking care of things, which is great. But I'm ready to get back to normal life.
Yeah.
To get back to co-host status, not host status.
It was kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's just all right, one less podcast this week. Thank God. But it is kind of nice to be back and back into the routine. It was really weird going back to we always talk about the post marathon blues, and it was really funny because someone in the Omega Metro Discord was just kind of anyone else kind of feel a little bit bummed out this week? Is it just me? And I think instantly you and I knew exactly what they were talking about. And it's yes, for sure. That's the classic post-marathon blues. And I felt a little bit of that myself, on Monday after the Omega Metro Marathon was over. I was that's it. That was months and months and months of planning, and now it's done. And now what? What do we do now?
Yeah, I always feel it the first day that I have to go back to work, the first couple days of work.
Yeah.
I usually take the Monday off because I'm exhausted and just need rest. But going back to real life and to work is just so kind of lame, compared to doing something that cool. So yeah, the marathon hangover, it's a real thing. It's a physical, emotional thing, and it's totally normal.
Well, hey, we got to talk about that just a little bit because I have a lot of people that I want to thank for the Omega Metro Marathon, which by every single metric, was just a smashing success. Beyond my wildest dreams, and a lot of people from Zelda Dungeon, from the Zelda Cast community, tuned in, and not only tuned in but donated. We had Catherine with us for almost every day. We had Corey dropping in. We had Cal dropping in. We had, Jules was helping out from Japan. We had just I could go through and list almost every person from Zelda Dungeon. And at some point, Cora, Alex, all these guys, Goo, of course, were there and just helping us along as we got to our goal. And we obliterated our goal. We ended up so our goal was to raise $750 for the Trevor Project. We raised $2,310. It's $2,310, which was unbelievable. Yeah. And you know what? The marathon itself was from a technical standpoint could have been a lot worse too. So I was pretty happy with that. Some stuff did go wrong. I knew it would, but the stuff that went wrong wasn't any major anything like that, but so yeah, it was just a really great success. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot for sure in terms of how these marathons are put together. I would be remiss if I didn't thank a couple people here just to start off the show. First and foremost, everyone that donated, of course. Second, to my Omega Metroid teammates and colleagues, specifically Doom Crossing. Put in a lot of work and a lot of time into making this happen. And my wife, Sam, who, let me kind of, indulge in this for many, many, many months. I do specifically want to thank Mossies for one, coming up and playing with us on our stream. But two,
It was very helpful.
It was very helpful. Yes, well, I can't say that we would have got further ahead without him because we didn't get anywhere, but we'll get to that in a second. But I mean, so much of the marathon, the Omega Metro Marathon is clearly inspired by the Zelda Dungeon Marathon, right? And so a lot of thanks goes to him and to Josh and Drew and Locke, all the team over the years that have kind of made that into such a mainstay. Copy from the best, right? So thank you to Moss, and of course thank you to Allison Aletha for riding shotgun with me one more time as we
That was a fun time.
God, we spent 3 hours doing nothing. We did nothing and we accomplished nothing.
I wouldn't say that. Like, we accomplished the dark areas without the lamp. That was kind of incredible. That was worse than the goats.
So for anyone wondering, and you should go watch the VOD of this over on Omega Metroid's YouTube. So we did a Link to the Past.
A whole lot of nothing.
Oh my god. So we did a Link to the Past Super Metroid like cross-world randomizer, which is really fun and really cool. However, apparently I set the seed so that like the morph ball and the sword are not in the opening areas. So like we could not find the morph ball for like the entire 3 hours we had, which means that like we couldn't do anything. Like we couldn't do anything for the game. We were desperately Oh my god, we were trying to get something going on and like like we did nothing for 3 hours. So it was still fun though. It was still fun.
I think it was a fun time. We had some laughs, but I'd love to like rehash this on a future episode someday, like maybe a crossover from Omega and the Zelda Cast, because it's definitely a crossover of Zelda and Metroid. And like pick a better seed and like we'll go from there because it was really cool. I do wish we had been able to get farther, but like it is what it is, and we can rehash it another day.
So actually, immediately after we were finished, actually no, I lied. This is the next day. So the next day I redid the seed as like the Omega Metroid Marathon was still going on. I wasn't playing a game, but I was kind of doing like the tech or whatever, so I just had to sit there. So I was replaying and I was like, oh, I didn't make the morph ball and the sword like at the beginning of the game. So I did that and like it's so much better. It was so much more fun.
There we go.
Maybe we'll release that audio one day if we were ever in need of an episode for a rainy day. But thank you to everyone that made that such a success. It was a great time. I had a blast. We raised a lot of money for a great cause. And you know what? I don't know when, but the Omega Metroid Marathon will return. It will return. I don't know if it's going to be a yearly thing. We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe every other year.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So, but it will be back.
Twice a year.
It's got the Marvel announces like Ant-Man will be back. The Omega Metroid Marathon will be back.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
All right. God, I talked so much Metroid last week and the weeks before that I've actually been like looking forward here to talking about Zelda and just kind of taking it easy, taking a nice, relaxing journey across this hallowed series here. And so to ease ourselves back into real life, so to speak, we were just like, you know what, we're just going to do some daily debates. And it kind of like cover a bevy of different topics here. So we got a nice and breezy and easy show going on today. And the other thing, actually, that I wanted to touch on as well is our social team got to do kind of a cool feature where they exclusively went and kind of got amongst themselves and they revealed their top 10 dungeons of all time. And so it was kind of cool because it was like very independent and like something that only the social team got to do, which they don't get to do a lot of that kind of stuff by themselves. So I thought it was cool. And yeah, it's a little bit different, obviously, because like the social team is a little bit of a smaller team. So I wanted to go over that list with you as well, because I don't think you've seen it, right?
I haven't seen it. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst at social media. Like I just am not great at getting on there. So I didn't even know this list happened, but I'm excited to see what they have to say.
Well, I'll tell you what. I guess we could just start right with that list, and then we'll start answering some daily debates here and kind of get into that. Let me get that pulled up, and then we'll go over it here. It was interesting, I thought, what was and was not on the list. So, yeah.
I think I can like, depending on what is and isn't on the list, I feel like I can accept like placement because I feel like sometimes even my top 5 dungeons like switch around. It just depends on how I feel during the day or during the week or whatever. So I feel like, yeah, if something is not quite where I would place it, I feel like that's fine. But if there's some stuff that's not on this list that should be, I don't know, we might have some words with the social team.
I mean, I think that there's definitely some stuff that's excluded that should be on this list. Okay. But, I guess it's just like, whatever. Do we need to have like always the same dungeons on the list? Like, maybe not. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just get started here, Al. So in the number 10 position, as voted. Actually, I don't know how they did this. Maybe they voted. Maybe it was like Survivor, where like you extinguish
Somebody
the
gets
torch.
voted off the island.
Yeah. So number 10 is the sand ship from Skyward Sword.
Okay, that's fair.
I like
That's
that.
a fair one.
Yeah. I might have even ranked it a little bit higher, actually, myself.
Okay, I do enjoy the sand ship. Some of the back and forth though kind of irks me sometimes, but it's okay. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid dungeon.
You know, the last time I played Skyward Sword, which is when HD came out, like Ancient Cistern is always kind of like the one, right? Where you're just like, man, this dungeon is awesome. But I remember playing Sandship and I was like, God, this dungeon might be the best one in the game, actually. So I like it.
The best mini boss.
Yeah.
The mini boss is pretty cool.
Number 9, Hyrule Castle, Breath of the Wild.
That is also a fair. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think that's a very popular dungeon.
Yeah, I think so. No problems with that. This is an interesting one. Number 8, Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask.
I think you and I are not the biggest fans of Stone Tower Temple.
I mean, I'm not. I have to be honest with you, but I think it's a pretty beloved dungeon. So like, I have no umbrage with that one.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to be on a top 10 list. I do think it's very like we are kind of outliers in our opinions about it.
This next one, Al, I was surprised because I don't know if this would be on my top 30 dungeons list. And this is not to say it's a bad dungeon. I guess I was just surprised. Do you want to take a guess? Do you want to take a guess at what dungeon I'm about to say?
Oh, no, I'm scared. Wait, give me what game is it from?
I can't tell you. That'll give it away.
Nah, dang it.
There's only one good... Okay, I shouldn't say that. There's only like one... It's from a game that I don't think has like one exceptional dungeon. It's got a bunch of good dungeons, but maybe not like an exceptional dungeon.
Oh, it must be Wind Waker. Well, at least in your opinion.
Yeah, I will confirm it is the Wind Waker.
Okay, I'm trying to think of like the least exciting dungeon from the Wind Waker. Like Dragon Roost, maybe?
Number 7 is Dragon Roost Cavern.
Wow, that is interesting.
Can you believe that?
I wouldn't put that on my top 10 list.
I mean, like it's a fine dungeon, and I think it's got a fun boss fight, and I guess like it's got a fun item. So like it is a fine dungeon. It's kind of like an intro dungeon though. So I was surprised to see that.
I would probably put it. Oh, I don't know if I'd put it high on an intro dungeon list either. We might have to redo our intro dungeon episode because it's been a while.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I said, like I think that's great that this dungeon is kind of getting some love.
It gets some love somewhere.
Yeah, you know, like why the heck not? Nobody talks about that dungeon really. I was surprised to see it though. I not even like pleasantly surprised. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Number 6. No surprises here. Ancient Cistern.
Aw, that's a little too low for me. I'd put that a little higher, but it's good that it's on the list. I appreciate that.
I think 6 is like pretty close to where it might be a spot or two lower, but like I can live with that. That's okay. Number 5, the Spirit Temple from Ocarina of Time.
Good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I love it.
That'd be my number 2 dungeon, to be honest with you. Oh, you know what? Okay, I lied. I thought that this next dungeon was not on the list. I must have not seen number 4 and just went right to number 3.
Okay.
Number 4 is the Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I didn't see the Forest Temple on the list. I guess they must have just not had it. But no, I just can't read. It is there. Okay. That's my number 1, and I think it was number 1 when we did our like big staff-wide feature. This was many years ago.
Many years ago. I don't even remember.
I actually always like didn't think that the Forest Temple was like a very popular dungeon for whatever reason, or like popular but maybe not like an acclaimed dungeon. I was surprised when it was number 1 all those years ago.
I really like the concept of chasing after the pose and then fighting a Phantom Ganon is really cool, and the music is also solid. Yeah. So it's a cool dungeon. Yeah,
I guess I never realized like how popular it was. Like I knew it was my favorite dungeon, but I didn't know that it was like so popular. So yeah, good to see the Forest Temple there. That's what I was thinking. All right, so number 3, you might like this, the Wind Temple from Tears of the Kingdom.
I don't like that.
Okay.
I like the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom, but I wouldn't say the Wind Temple's I like the boss. I think the boss is the best boss in the whole game, but I wouldn't say the Wind Temple is the better dungeon of the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty high on this top 10 list.
This was the one that I saw the most comments, the most discourse, the most.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's getting some love again. And if it was called like the whatever the ship is called, that would make it like 10 times cooler.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had an argument about this in Discord actually, where someone was like, "What does it matter what it's called?" And it's like, I feel like it does matter. Like imagine,
It does matter.
like imagine if who's your favorite band?
I don't know. Let's just talk about Muse.
Okay,
You know
Muse.
I
I like Muse. I love Muse.
Yeah.
So imagine Muse puts out, imagine that they put out an album, okay, and they're just putting out black holes and revelations, okay, and instead of like the song, like instead of like Supermassive Black Hole or Starlight, it's like song 1, song 2, song 3.
Yeah.
They're the same song and they sound just as good, but it does miss a little bit of that oomph to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And that's definitely like really good for songs is a good analogy because like it does have an extra hit when you know the song and you could talk about it.
Yeah.
What is I keep wanting to say Stormlight because I've been considering reading the Stormlight archives,
Storm
but
arc.
it's Storm Wind, Storm something.
Oh god. The storm arc, isn't it? Oh,
Storm arc.
People are just like losing their minds listening to us fumble this here.
You know what's so weird? And maybe I've talked about this before, but like sometimes I listen to old episodes and I'm like, I know what the heck I'm talking about. But the older I get, the more my mind just kind of slips and I'm on the spot and everything just leaves my brain and it's really annoying. So forgive me. I'm just getting old.
You know what I would say about the Wind Temple is that like of the sections and tiers of the kingdom like that immediately precede the dungeon, I do think it's the best.
So cool, so much fun. That is such an adventure. I love that.
I got to think that's being like factored into like this dungeon being so high because like I feel like the dungeon itself it's a fine dungeon, but I personally preferred the fire and the lightning temples actually.
I agree.
But I could see that if you're factoring in like the climb. The climb up was awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to? Let's just go to number 2. I'm going to make you guess number 1. Number 2, the Snow Peak Ruins from Twilight Princess. I like that.
I like that dungeon. It's a fun one. It's different. You know, it's kind of out there. I like it. That's a good. It's a little high for me, but like I think it's good to be on this list.
I think it's a top 10 dungeon for me for sure. Maybe like 7, 8, 9 kind of thing, but it's up there for me. I remember I really love about that dungeon. I remember the first time playing it, I was like, you know, when you enter like a Zelda dungeon, usually it feels like this like ancient structure, like this kind of you know temple for lack of a better word, but like this one is just like a house, and I remember thinking that was so cool.
It's different.
You want to guess number 1?
What game is it from?
Oh come on, there's one dungeon. It's high on my list. It's high on your list. We haven't talked about it yet. Amazing boss fight.
I don't know.
All right, number 1 from The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess is the Arbiter's Grounds.
Oh man, I was gonna say Arbiter's Grounds.
Again, no qualms with that. That's an amazing one.
Solid.
Yeah,
the spinner is so much fun, and there's some portions of that dungeon I don't really care for, like with the bugs and the rats, like the invisible stuff that gets on like Wolflink and stuff. But the pose are cool, not as cool as Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time. But the spinner portions are just so solid, and then the boss fight is sick. So yeah, that's a good one.
I pretty much love that dungeon from start to finish. To be honest, like I think it's incredible. It's a top 5 dungeon for me for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. It's pretty high on my list too.
A good list, like a little bit of
there's
a little bit of diversity there. You know?
Yeah, half the dungeons from Twilight Princess I really like. Like some of them are so cool, but the other half just don't feel that great to me. So. Hits and misses.
I think Dragon Roost is just the one where I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, that's different.
That's
I want to know who opted for that one. I want to shake their hand.
Yeah.
Giving Wind Waker some much needed love.
I think if it were me, what's missing from that list? Do you think, Al? Pick a dungeon or 2 that you think is missing.
This is really a bit hard for me to think of on the spot.
I think off the top of my head, a dungeon that sticks out that's missing for me might be Eagle's Tower from Link's Awakening.
Okay.
That's one that kind of just feels like it should be there in a top 10. The final Divine Beast from Breath of the Wild kind of feels like one that maybe could have gotten some consideration.
There's no Echoes of Wisdom dungeons on here. I really like the whatever the one is in the Faron region.
No,
Faron. Oh my god.
No Echoes
See,
dungeons. Yeah. I don't know that I'd put an Echoes dungeon in the top 10 list. I think they were all really, really good. I don't know if I'm gonna say like any of them were like top 10.
I'm surprised maybe Tower of the Gods. I feel like Tower of the Gods is pretty popular in Wind Waker. Like I would probably see that more than Dragon Roost.
Yeah, I would have put that before Dragon. I mean, but hey, that's the beauty of these lists. So and shout out to the social team for curating that. I thought that was really just kind of cool, and it was nice to see some different dungeons kind of get their due, so to speak. So cool list. Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this clip and want to see more of the Zelda Cast, make sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe. There are over 200 episodes in the vault that will provide you with hundreds of hours of Zelda content for you to enjoy. You can listen to us when you're on a walk, fighting Ganon, trying to sleep, whatever. And if you want to see these shows as they happen, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/the Zelda Cast, where you can watch our beautiful faces talk about Zelda every single week. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.